So my overall experience working with SmartCover is second to none. The customer service that we got from the SmartCover crew is really impressive. In more than one instance, if we see a level trend rise, which is our main primary function of looking and using the SmartCover infrastructure, it's more times than not I'm getting a notification from a SmartCover employee who's also a close friend that'll say, "Hey Joe, take a look at your charts. You're seeing an odd trend there rise." You don't get that with many other companies. You got to roll out. You rely heavily on the electronic notifications and alarming, but I'd say probably in 3 instances, one of them during a conference where we actually presented on this implementation at Northern Moraine, I have SmartCover individuals who are telling me, "Hey, you got something weird going on. Let's lay eyes on this and see if we've got an issue." And in all 3 of those instances, there was sure mitigated a pretty big disaster and a pretty big backup. So beyond actually just the employees and the coworkers at SmartCover who are maintaining contact with us, I would say this infrastructure is truly something you set and you forget for maybe 2 to 3 years, with the only exception being these battery replacements. Just due to the robust nature of this SmartCover technology, it's not something that we have to maintain as operators pretty frequently. These transducers and these sensors are sometimes kind of submerged in water if there is a partial backup. They've proven over the last 2-3 years of usage that we don't really have to maintain them as frequently as some of our other critical equipment. SmartCover technology has really influenced our decision making from a business perspective with regards to planned maintenance, also with regards to our 5-year capital improvement plan. It's just another piece or tool that we can use to make some informed decisions from the admin perspective. Although we're only using this for level sensing at the moment, we've kind of found an avenue here where we can start to kind of look and start to predict when we're going to have backups or when cleaning and televising is needed. So it's really saved us a lot of man hours with the whole investigation efforts that we've historically been used to. Moving forward, if we do implement these upstream, move all 24 of our lift stations, I could see us putting in less money with regards to the cleaning efforts, kind of move into an as-needed basis as opposed to a 5-year cycle that we historically have stuck to. And I'd say even more, just investing in these capital improvements, something that you historically have never had, you'd be surprised what you kind of get for an outcome there, right? You have this romantic idea that I can sense H2S gas, and that's a trigger for us to clean. You have this romantic idea that, okay, there's backups that we can address. But we're finding out with this technology, it actually gives us a lot more insight into something that's often overseen and unlooked for something that's buried underground, right? So I would argue that moving forward, it's an important tool for us to make some informed decisions for something that has historically been neglected. I'm working at a facility that for the last 30 to 40 years has operated without SCADA. When myself and my district manager came in here, that was item number 1, priority number 1, let's get SCADA online so we have some live looks in the collection system and at the plant. Hearing that we could tie SmartCover into our SCADA via a simple API token was really at the top of my list. But reporting is a big tool for me as someone who has to do a monthly report to my board members. Anything that I can put, colorful charts, tables in front of my board, make it easy for them to read and understand is always a success in my eyes. So that was another feature that really hit it from the personal and from the admin end. But I would also mention, hey, there's a lot of other companies out there that may do something similar, but one big item that they hit on this presentation was ease of installation. And what did that mean to me? It meant that I didn't have to install it. You hear about these transducers, these sensors getting installed in manholes or wet wells, and the first thing that comes to mind is, oh my goodness, we've got to do confined space entry here. Not only am I investing in this equipment, but I got to allocate a day of time to get my operators freed up in a safe environment to enter. That concern is out the door because SmartCover comes in, they do the installation for you. All you need to do is simply go check your atlas, go check your records, tell them your depth of your bench and your manhole, for example, what height do you want your transducer set at, when do you want these alarms to trigger. And it was a breath of fresh air to know that the SmartCover crew handles that installation, right? So I would say the fourth one that had really struck a chord with me when we did the presentation was the Iridium satellite system that you guys use for the actual transmissivity of these alarming here. I have been blessed to work with landlines. They still exist, and that's what serves most of our alarming at our lift stations. It's a tried and true method of an auto dialer with a potable line that's plugged into it. You would also know that these things are subject to failure pretty frequently, whether it's just a lawnmower going over and hitting a cord. Could just be failures with your cellular provider. Hearing that you're using the same Iridium satellite system that some of the national armed forces use for their day-to-day work balance was just crazy to me. I've got a perfect example of an instance where the SmartCover technology really saved our butt and really proved valuable for the main reason we actually got it installed. So try to shorten it down here. We were doing a public bidding event where we were getting all of our metals replaced in the wet well. Down from the base elbows up to the upper 90s, all new stainless steel setup, had to bypass the station. Since this was a public bid, it was contracted out to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, which means that me as the director of operations didn't have to, didn't have to worry about bypassing. For any superintendents and for director of operators that are out there, that's not the case. You can farm it out to your general contractor, to your subcontractor, but you'd be putting yourself in a hole, if you will, if you just kind of trusted them to do their job. Well, the area of this public bidding bypass was essentially a very small footprint. The village that the work was performed in required a fencing to be placed around the project extents to mitigate any kind of children playing in the area. And at that time, it was discovered that we couldn't send up a redundant bypass pump, meaning that we had two on site, but we didn't have the spatial area to do a Y connection to have a backup pump ready to rock and roll should one fail. Well, the premise of the story should speak volume because day 2 of the bypass, the worst case scenario that we're planning for came to fruition. Say at about 2 in the morning, I got an alert, SmartCover level trend rise. To which we typically will look at and we'd see that the flows would return to normal. Understanding that we were in that bypass event, I wasted no time. I didn't even call my on-call operator, hopped in the vehicle, went straight out to the lift station site and saw that the transducer had stopped working and in turn the bypass pump had stopped working. That was enough time for me to get over there, contact the general contractor, have him mobilize and get the other pump in place so that we could resume pumping. That would have been an SSO event or a sanitary sewer overflow event that would have affected 100 plus homes.